Welcome to part 27, Configuring Gunicorn with Systemd. So what is Gunicorn? Gunicorn is the layer between Nginx, our web server software, and our Python web application. So Nginx cannot communicate directly with Python, which is why we need this middle layer. So say we have a request coming in from a client, and what will happen is that it'll first pass through Nginx, and then Nginx will route that request to Gunicorn, which will then communicate that request with our Python web application, and then the response from the web application will go back through Gunicorn and then back through Nginx, and then finally back to our user. So to facilitate this communication between web server and Python application, Python has developed a standard protocol called WSGI. It stands for Web Server Gateway Interface. And there are many Python packages that implement this, and it allows this smooth communication between Nginx and Python. So yeah, there are many other ones. Gunicorn is just one of the more popular ones. So it was, if you notice, it was in the requirements.txt file, which means we've already installed it and it's ready to be run. Now, what we need to happen is to have Gunicorn running at all times so that it can always process requests. One good thing about Gunicorn is that it is able to process multiple requests from multiple users. So to have it up and running at all times, we're going to use some software called Systemd. This is already on your machine. It's a very common piece of software on Linux machines. It's able to start and manage background processes. In order to use Systemd, what you need to do is create something called a unit file, and the contents of which are right here. So let me talk about this unit file a little bit. So there's many different components or sections of unit file. There are many more that are shown here. You have to look online to see all of the different types of sections of a unit file. But ours is going to be pretty simple. This is just a description. This is just this after. It's just saying start it after the network software has started. So the actual service will be run by the root user. The working directory for the application is where our application, our dashboard.py file resides, and well, that's going to be the relative location of where commands will be called from. So inside of the application, inside of dashboard.py, we read in some data and we read it from the data folder, but we don't give the full path. We give a relative path. So this working directory allows us to use this directory as like the relative path within our application. All right, so the environment, this is where we set our virtual environment. So all of the executables are found in this bin directory inside of dashboard_venv, which is in our project directory. And how do we start Gunicorn? Well, so Gunicorn is located here, right? It's just one of the executables in our virtual environment. This tells you the number of workers. This is just some specific commands that it will that you can pass to it to customize Gunicorn. So this is what systemd will eventually call. So it's calling this right here, right? This whole command. So there'll be 3 workers. It's going to create this socket file over here, which will ultimately be the one that will be doing the communication between Nginx and the web application itself. If you take a look over here, this is just the Python name of the file is WSGI. So I'll show you that file. We can open that up. And then this is the specific variable name inside of our Python file that is the application itself. Okay, so let's copy the contents over here. And let's go back to our server. We can type in clear to just clear out some of the text from before. And what I want to do now is look at this wsgi.py file. So we haven't taken a look at this one yet. It's very simple. So what happens is this is what's needed for this is exactly what's over here in the unit file. So this WSGI just stands for the wsgi.py file, and this is where the actual application is located, or the variable name. So we're going to import. So this is from dashboard.py. We're going to import the app variable. This is the dash application, by the way. Now, Dash itself is run on top of, is built on top of Flask. The Flask application is what you need, and that is what implements WSGI in Flask. Is the Flask application. So what we're going to do is we're going to access this server attribute, and that's where the Flask application is actually located. And then we'll just reassign it to app. We could have called it whatever we wanted, by the way, and then use that variable name in our unit file. So I'm going to exit out of that. I'll talk a little bit about the Nano editor in a second. So what we will do is now create the unit file, and to do that, we will, let me copy this first. There's a special place in your file system to create it. It's at this location right here. This is where all the unit files, or many of the unit files, are located. But we're not just we're gonna say Nano. So Nano is a text editor available to all Linux systems. It's a simple text editor. So this will open up it'll just create a new file. It'll be a blank file. And what we'll do now is copy and paste this unit file right here. And let me expand this. So there it is. And let's see if we can move this out here so you can't see all of it. Okay, so there it is. Now to save a Nano file, you see over here, you press Control X. That's how you exit. And then on exit, it'll say, do you want to save? And just put Y for yes, and then press enter. And now we've saved our unit file. And one thing we have to do here is to enable it, or to start it, and then to enable it. This is enable on boot. So when you start it right now, it'll start it, but we want to enable it so it starts immediately whenever if our web server is ever rebooted, then it will also start up. So this is a command for systemd that will start services. So we started the service, and now we will make sure it is enabled on start or on boot. And you can find the status of this service or any service. So systemctl status, and then the name of the service right here. So you can see what's happening. It is up and running, so that's good. Press Q to quit. All right, so that is, and the last thing is it has created this socket, which will be used to make the connection between the server and the application. So we can go ahead and look at this. If you do ls, you should have this corona.sock file that has now been created in the Corona directory. Okay, so that completes the configuration of Gunicorn with systemd.